Our Frontier opening bell for today is getting here. Welcome everyone to the show. As always, we begin by just checking in with some of the markets that we cover across Frontier Africa. And the sell-off continues across many Frontier African markets, with South Africa taking a very big hit on Wednesday. Of course, that's for the seventh straight session. South Africa's stocks being sold off, bonds also being sold off on the back of the global nervousness around the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and a few others, and whether there's still a lot more crisis around there. No thanks as well to the Credit Suisse concerns by investors and traders around the world. 50 billion Swiss francs by the Swiss regulator just in the kitty to help Credit Suisse move along. So quite a bit of concerns out there. And of course, again, interest rate outlook from the US FOMC Tuesday, Wednesday next week, and as well as inflation and whether the reopening of Chinese economy will remain very strong. Early numbers are not so promising. So the sell-off continues. South Africa's GSE fell by 2.82%, well now below the 80,000 level when we started the new year. The Nairobi stock markets also sinking, went down 2.25% with a sell-off on some of the big names, despite earnings inflow from big banking names reporting better than expected, paying dividends such as KCB, Stanbic of Kenya, and a few other names in the banking space. The Egyptian market, with a whole stronger correlation with the Arabian investors and the global marketplace, sank 4.15%, bigger than the South African GSE. On Wednesday, the Nairobi stock markets has a lot to do, again, with currency issues and all that, with the shilling printing around 142, away from the rate that the central bank on that part, taking Njoroge, is pushing out. The BRVM in West Africa down by 12 basis points, the BRVM below the 210 reading, while the Nigerian stock market sank, the biggest in the week. Geregu Power sold off yesterday, as well as Nigeria's biggest bank by market cap, Zenith Bank, down by 4%, plus Gisco down by almost 1% as well. So the markets across Africa remain very, very whacked by the global turbulence. But we've seen Ghana stock markets still on a strong trajectory, up by about 2.5%. The Zimbabwe stock market Wednesday was up by roughly 1.5% thereabout. So got a few notches of green shoots on the continent. Let's move on quickly, check with our big stories across the East African market. Just as always, to check in with the big news making the headlines with the Africa's Ministers of Finance, Planning and Economic Development top chiefs meeting in Addis Ababa for their annual conference that started yesterday and will continue until the weekend. The Central Bank of Kenya has reopened March infrastructure bonds to raise about 20 billion shillings, which is a regular bond that the government floats on the local market and try to get inflows into its infrastructure development. The CFP UK Holdings is looking to purchase about 21.6% stake in Lake Turkana Wind Power. Turkana Wind Power is around the northern corridor of Kenya and one of the richest area in wind energy on planet Earth. And Standard Chartered reporting profit after tax up 34%, 12 billion shillings for full year 2022, one of those very sweet earnings from the banking sector that's coming through this season. And the Bank for Central African States, which is the BEAC, says it's posted 114 billion CFA franc profit for last year. And that's the central bank in charge of all the economies in Central Africa, from Central African Republic to DR Congo and a few others. Let's touch with West Africa. And the news coming through this morning was that the Central Bank of Nigeria says the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, the DFC, is going to give Nigeria $400 million in funding support, and that is expected before the end of the week. The Central Bank governor was speaking at the ongoing African Central Bankers Conference in South Africa for 2023. Meantime, Nigeria's inflation at a sluggish 21.9% reading for the month of February. That's about 10 basis points above the January figure. Ghana's inflation came in yesterday at about 52.8%, much lower than where we were in January because food prices is tapering. The cedi is also recovering against the US dollar, and all that is in the news. The Ghana's authorities are also speaking very highly about what they have been able to do with reforms within the petroleum industry in recent years. In the meantime, four big South African banks, FirstRand, Absa, Nedbank, and Standard Bank says they're putting aside about 4.7 billion rand each, roughly 9 to 10 billion rands for the haircuts they are getting from holding Ghana's bond due to the swap that the government currently carried out in Accra last month. And the managing director of Africa's Capital Markets, Kofi Mike, he has floated his first sports investment fund in Cote d'Ivoire and for the entire West Africa. That's money and sport, putting finance behind it. And that's quite a big news. Congratulations. Let's look into Southern Africa. The Eskom crisis is still out there, still being grappled by the authorities in South Africa. But the S&P says it's put Eskom on positive credit watch. Old Mutual, which is one of the largest banking and financial services powerhouse in South Africa, says posted 10% rise in full-year profit and declares 51 cents per share cash dividend to shareholders. In Angola, ExxonMobil, according to news reports, is poised for $15 billion Namibia-based investment, while Lesotho's Revenue Service says they're launching an e-payment and e-taxation platforms to ease tax collections and ensure that every dime gets into government coffers and there's no room for evading tax and other forms of payments due the government. Zimbabwe's February gold output was flattish at about 1.89 tons, no thanks to heavy rainfalls that's caused severe issues in Zimbabwe and a few other countries in Southern Africa, affecting mining operations. Let's touch on in North Africa and to sum it up on Frontier opening bell this Thursday. Egypt's trade deficit declined by 54% as of December last year, while President El-Sisi has approved the transfer of Mercer Insurance Holdco equity to the sovereign fund of Egypt. In the meantime, the European Union is looking at closer energy ties with Algeria, while Algeria and Tunisia dates which have been imported is a major concern for the producers of the very rich in resource dates agri-products in Morocco. And that's your show for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time. I am Bosun Amafai. You can watch this show again on our YouTube at Frontier Africa Reports and subscribe. It is free. Go on our website, frontierafricareports.com, as well for our stories as well as other shows. Have a great day, everyone. See you next time.